Okay. We are holding here. Good morning. Good morning, Mike. Thank you for coming. I've seen you already twice in 24 hours. It's very special. Rebbe Label, thank you for joining. We're holding here in the Gemara, Mesechta Rosh Hashana 3a. The Gemara established that we make a set day, that's a Rosh Hashana, a new year from when you count the king to be the new year of his reign. We learned that we compare it to Yetzias Mitzrayim. We compare it to Yetzias Mitzrayim being that when Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, was coronated as king, he counted it both from the year of his reign, the fourth year of his reign, and the 480th year from when they left Egypt. We brought a proof from the passing of Aharon HaKohen that the month that's considered the new month for when the Jews left Egypt is a month of Nisan. It has to be the month of Nisan because, just fix that echo a little, because Aaron passed away in the month of Av. In the 40th year, the Jews left Egypt. Moshe started speaking to the Jewish people in Shvat. In the 40th year, the Jews left Egypt. And therefore, the new year must be somewhere in between Shvat and Av. Moshe passed away in the 40th year from when they left Egypt. Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, or Tammuz. Somewhere among those couple months must be the new year. Now, the new year for the kings and leaving Egypt is the 1st of Nisan. And for the sake of clarity, it just makes sense not to make a Rosh Hashanah in the middle of a month, on the 15th of a month. So although the Jews left Mitzrayim, Egypt, was actually in the middle of the month of Nisan, the 15th day, but unless we're absolutely forced to make a Rosh Hashanah in the middle of a month, like Shvat, the new year for the trees, as the Gemara will get into that topic later, we try doing everything in the least confusing way, so we do on Rosh Chodesh Nisan on the 1st of Nisan. Why not choose one of the other months, Rosh Chodesh Iyar, Rosh Chodesh Sivan, or Rosh Chodesh Tammuz? Why not choose those as the beginning of a new year from when we left Egypt? Aaron passed away on Rosh Chodesh Av. So Gemara will clarify now why these 3 months cannot be considered a new year, a new milestone, to count the date from when the Jewish people left Egypt, left Mitzrayim. So ask the Gemara, the Ema Rosh Hashanah Iyar, when counting the years from when we were freed from Egypt, and Av and Shvat are both part of the same year, and we established that the beginning of the new year is from Nisan. But the only thing we had to have established from all of our back and forth and proofs in the Gemara was that Shvat and Av are in the same year, and Adar and Av are in the same year, and the Rosh Hashanah is somewhere in between. Why not choose the 1st of Iyar to be the new Rosh Hashanah? Gemara answers, Lo yisal gadaitach. Don't let this enter your mind to accept this proposal that the 1st of Iyar should be a Rosh Hashanah for kings. Tichsiv, as it is written, it says, Vayehi b'chodesh harishon, at the very end of Parshas Pekudei, and it was in the first month. The first month is Nisan. Hashana Hashenis, in the second year, on the first of the month, Hukam HaMishkan, the Mishkan was erected. So the Mishkan, I'll go to our timeline. Right, the Mishkan was, the tabernacle was from the year 1314 before creation, in the year 2449. It was built 11 and a half months. It was dedicated, erected 11 and a half months after the Jewish people left Mitzrayim, left Egypt. They left Egypt on the 15th of Nisan in the year 2448. On the 1st of Nisan in the year 2449, the Jewish people dedicated the Mishkan. The Torah states it was dedicated on the first month of the second year. So Rosh Chodesh Nisan is the first of the months of the year, as the Mishnah stated. Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu on Rosh Chodesh Nisan in Egypt, this month of Nisan is the first of the Jewish months of the year. So the second month is, Nisan is the first, Iyar is the second. On the first of Nisan, in the second year that they left Egypt, the Mishkan was put up. Now, based on this, we must say that Rosh Chodesh Iyar cannot be the beginning of a new year. Uchsiv, Bayihi Bashana Hasheni Bachodesh Hasheni Na'al Ha'anan Me'al Mishkan Ha'edus. So the Jewish people camped by Har Sinai for quite a long time. And many things happened by Har Sinai. They got the luchos, the first ones. They sinned with the golden calf. They got a second luchos. They kept on receiving more and more mitzvahs. They built a Mishkan. They dedicated it. And finally, in the second year that they left Egypt, in the month of Iyar, on the second on Chaf Iyar, the cloud, which was always stretched out over the Mishkan, rose, left, and whenever that happened, it was a sign, it's time to move, we're about to leave, we're about to break camp. And Chaf Iyar, that's when the Mishkan, the cloud of Hashem left the Mishkan, when they're still by Har Sinai, and they got in the second year that they left Egypt. So having established these two facts, that the second year the Jews left Egypt, 11 and a half months after leaving Egypt, was during the second year, on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the cloud went up, and from the second year the Jews left Egypt, they traveled away on Chaf Iyar. Having established these two facts, Medikai ben Nisan v'karila Bashana Hashenis. They were in the month of Nisan. From the fact that when the Torah speaks about the month of Nisan, it refers to it as a second year from the time they left Egypt. Miklal v'kayi be'iyar v'karila b'shenis. The second verse speaks about the month of Iyar. The cloud left, and it was also in the second year, in the month of Iyar, the second year from when the Jews left Egypt. Miklal the Rosh Hashana lav Iyarhu. You cannot say that the first of Iyar would be Rosh Hashana, a new year for the counting from when the Jews left Egypt, because otherwise, an event which took place in the month of Iyar after the first event, which took place in the month of Nisan, would have had to be counted in a different year to the count of when the Jews left Egypt. So leaving Egypt, counting a new year, the first year, the second year, cannot be on Rosh Chodesh Iyar. And the Gemara takes it for granted. We count on a Rosh Chodesh on the first of the month, so we have a month being in one year, a month being in the other year. So the Mishkan was first put up on Rosh Chodesh Nisan in the second year they left Egypt. So the Mishkan was put up for the first time. The Mishkan was existing on the 20th of Iyar in the second year when the cloud moved off of the Mishkan, told them it was time to travel. It was also in the second year. So for sure, the second event of the month of Iyar had to have taken place after the first event in the month of Nisan. Here they built the Mishkan in Nisan. Iyar, the cloud left a already standing Mishkan, and it's both in the same year. We cannot say that Rosh Chodesh Iyar was a cutoff date, because otherwise it would have been the second year from when they left Egypt, and at least the third year from when they left Egypt. The fact that both events happened in the same calendar year from when they left Egypt shows that Rosh Chodesh Iyar cannot be the new year for leaving Egypt. Consequently, it cannot be the new year for counting the reign of a king. Sternated, Shalom Aleichem. Having established that the new month, the month which begins the new year for the count of how many years a king reigns, a king is in power, does not start on Rosh Chodesh Iyar, and it must be between Adar and Av on a Rosh Chodesh. So the Gemara will now ask about the other months, maybe the month of Sivan. Ask the Gemara, Ve'ema, perhaps, let us say, the Rosh Hashana, the new year for this purpose of counting. When did the Jews leave Egypt? The new year begins on the 1st of Sivan. The Gemara answers, Lo Yisokadaitach. That is not logical to say. We cannot accept that premise, that the month of Sivan would be a new year to count as a new year, a new number for the amount of years the Jews left Egypt. Why not? Let us go to the giving of the Torah. States, B'chodesh hashlishi, this is what we read on Shavuos, from Revi'i of Parshas Yisro. It says, V'chodesh hashlishi, in the third month, that says B'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim, after the Jews left the land of Egypt, B'yoyim hazeh, on this day, which means on the day that the month began, on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, Ba'u Midbar Sinai, they arrived to Mount Sinai. They're in the middle of doing the first Sfiras HaOmer. They've already counted 43 days getting ready to receive the Torah. And now they finally, on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, on the first day in the month of Sivan, they finally arrived at Har Sinai, Mount Sinai, ready to receive the Torah. It says, Vayichan Sham Yisrael, and the Jewish people, and he camped there, although Vayachanu, before they camped, in a plural sense, in the desert, Vayichan over here, when it came to Har Sinai, it was only one person who camped. Although it was a whole nation, they were all getting along together, and they were united. There was no arguments and fights for the first and so far only time in Jewish history. Although there are those who say that they did have some opponents, because it says, and they camped neged har. Neged means in front, it means opposite, against. At least they were all united against the mountain. On Rosh Chodesh Sivan, the year the Jewish people left Mitzrayim, 3 months, in the third month after they left Egypt, they camped by Mount Sinai. V'im Isa, and if Rosh Hashana, if you're starting to count a new year for the number of years, from when of counting the years of how long it has been since they left Egypt, from the 1st of Sivan, then it should have stated differently, should have said, "B'chodesh hashlishi b'shana shenis l'tzeis b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim mi'ba'ilei." It should have stated in the third month in the second year from when the Jews left Egypt. Because Sivan is also would not just be a new month, but also a new year. This verse is taking it for granted, as is all the previous discussions, everything else that Torah tells us before, about Yisrael and about how they're finally leaving Egypt. This pasuk, this verse, is a continuation of things that happened during the first year they left Egypt. And that's why the Torah doesn't have to tell us what year it is, because we're talking about the year that we've been talking about the last 4 parshas. If a Torah is introducing a new year, like it does in other times, in other places, it wants to give you a reference point for a date. It will tell you this month in this year. Since over here it just says this month since they left Egypt, it doesn't say in the second year. So therefore, and to say this is an exception is a very strong thing, especially as the Ritva says, we cannot divide a year into 2 parts. So a month into 2 parts, to be part of 2 different years. So it wouldn't be logical to say that the 1st of Sivan is part of the year the Jews left Egypt, and the 6th of Sivan, when they received the Torah, would be from the next year. Therefore, we must establish, or it is established, that Rosh, Chodesh, Sivan, and consequently the entire month of Sivan is part of the same count in regards to this being counted as a Rosh Chodesh for the years that the Jews left Egypt, the same as Nisan. So it cannot be the beginning of a new year starting from Rosh Chodesh Sivan. So to recap, a new year for the kings have to start somewhere after Adar, somewhere before Av. It cannot be Iyar, because Iyar and Nisan are both counted in the second year in the same context. Cannot be Sivan, because the Torah said on Sivan was just the 3rd month from when they left Egypt, not in the second year. So now we're going to try maybe Tammuz, the next month. Maybe the month of Tammuz can be considered to be a new month.
I'm a little confused.
Sure.
Yeah, we have a statement that says, Rosh Chodeshim. So, why didn't that apply automatically to kings and?
Excellent. So why, when Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu in Parshas Bo, let's just bring it up here on the screen. I have to give an educated guess, probably somewhere over here. Yes, exactly. And Hashem told Moshe and Aaron in the land of Egypt, this month, which is, the Hebrew word for the month relates to the word Chodesh Nu. Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu that they should count the months of the year, starting with the month of Nisan, in which the Exodus took place. And Rosh Chodesh is when the moon is a new moon, and in the month of Nisan. This is the first month. But if you look at the words, right, it says L'chadshei Hashana, for the months of the year. The months of the year, we have different. Rosh Chodesh Nisan is a Rosh Hashanah for Regalim, for Yom Tovim as well. So for the months of the year, counting the months of the year, which could be for Yom Tov, and that would be if someone promises, I'm going to donate something to the Beis HaMikdash, so you have to do it before 3 Yom Tovim of a year pass. So when do you start counting the new year? So it could be 4 Yom Tovim or 5 Yom Tovim. There's 3 holidays a year, Pesach or Sukkot and Shavuos. So you would start counting Regalim for holidays. You would start counting from Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So Chad Hashana of the year. But to count for Melachim, for kings, which is based on what year we left Mitzrayim, maybe it's a different count. Not necessarily. From where do we have a definitive proof that it should be also for, let's say, Bnei Yisrael Me'eretz Mitzrayim, from when the Jews left Egypt? Rishinu lechem lechad Hashana. And over here it says from when the Jews left Egypt. So it doesn't say anything over here about Rishnu lechem liyetzias Mitzrayim, that for the leaving of Egypt. So it doesn't say anything about that. So if it's not definitive, we can't bring it to apply to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Shliach. But anybody could pick my brains, please, at any time. If I don't know, I'll stand corrected. Shliach. So why not Sivan? Because Sivan is called the 3rd month from when the Jews left Egypt. What about Tammuz? We said it has to be between Adar and Av. Maybe Rosh Chodesh Tammuz should be the 1st month of the count from when the Jews left Mitzrayim, left Egypt. The Ema Adar, maybe the month of Adar. And the Gemara is like, at this point, when it's asking questions, it's not really asking these questions with a strong backing to it. These are sort of not regular questions like all the previous ones. Because you could say perhaps some of the other Rosh Chodeshes had a special uniqueness to them. A positive reason why you should count them as the beginning of a new year. Rosh Chodesh Sivan, they came to Har Sinai. It's a big milestone. Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, before we said they stopped slaving, stopped working, having to do hard labor in Egypt. But these months don't really have any strong reason why you should count them as a new year for the kings. But because we're going to now bring a definitive reason for every why Rosh Chodesh Nisan is a new year for the kings, and new year from counting from when the people for leaving Egypt, that's why we ask all these other questions, although there's a Pnei Yeshua who goes a little bit more in depth on this. So why not count Tammuz as a new year for kings? Why not the 1st of Av? Aaron a Kohen passed away on the 1st of Av. Why not count Adar, which although Moshe Rabbeinu passed away in the 40th year, but it really talks about when he started speaking to the Jewish people in Shvat. So now Rebbe Eliezer is going to bring a strong reason, a different source, a different reason why the Rosh Hashana, the new year for the kings, should be on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Ella Amar Rabbi Elazar Mehacha. Rabbi Elazar brings a completely different source, different reason why you count the Rosh Hashana for new kings from the 1st of Nisan. Mehacha, from a different source, a different derivative. I thought I did bring it up here before. Okay, we'll bring it up right now. When Shlomi HaMelech, when he built the Beis HaMikdash, and it states, Vayachel Shlomo Livnis is Beis Hashem. Shlomi HaMelech began to build the house of Hashem, Behar HaMoriah, on Mount Moriah, Asher Nidel David Avihu, where Hashem showed David, his father, and appeared to him when he brought a carbon. Asher Hechin Mamakim David Begern Arnon HaYevusi, and David bought the place, the threshing floor, in the place of Arnon HaYevusi, which is amazingly or interesting. That if you look at Eretz Yisrael today, specifically the places which is documented in the Torah that the Jewish people bought it, is where it's the most contested. The Har Moriah, the Temple Mount, and today you have all these different other buildings on the Temple Mount that don't belong there, but it's David HaMelech bought it with money. Avram Batamaras Machpelah in Hebron. Hebron is a very big contested place. Shechem was bought, the area outside Shechem. Yaakov Avinu bought it. That's where Kever Yosef is. Particularly Shechem is a place where there's a lot of contention. Kever Yosef was desecrated, and fortunately many times. But these are places which were actually documented in the Torah that they were bought with money, belonging to us as an achlas olam. And it states, Vayachel Shlomo Livnes b'chodesh hasheni b'hasheni b'shnas arba l'malchusei. In the 4th year that Shlomi HaMelech was a king, on the 2nd day of the 2nd month, he started to build the Beis HaMikdash. Now, it says on the 2nd of the 2nd. 2nd of what? My Sheni. What does it mean, the 2nd? Lav does not mean that the 2nd month, which is the month of Iyar, because Rosh Chodesh Nisan is the 1st month of the year, so the 2nd month must be Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Sheni leyerach shemoinin b'ay malchusay. This was the 2nd month of Shlomi HaMelech's month that you're counting that of his reign. Meaning that you start counting his reign from Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and now in the 2nd month, which is also the 2nd of Sheni L'Malchusay. So in the 2nd month, Basheni B'shnas Arba L'Malchusay, Basheni in the 2nd month of the 4th year of his reign. And from there, you would understand that the first month of the 4th year of his reign is Nisan. And from here would be the reasoning of the proof that you begin to count New Year's from Rosh Chodesh Nisan, New Year's for a king. And you could learn from here backwards, meaning from the fact that you see that Shlomi HaMelech's year of reign, the month that it starts with is Nisan, you would apply it back to Yetzias Mitzrayim, that also you begin that in Nisan as well. So this is what Rabbi Elazar says. When it says he began to build in the 2nd, does not mean in the 2nd month of the year, which is also the 2nd month of the 4th year that he was king. My sheni lav sheni yerach shemoinim b'malchusay. Is this, and it must be that Rosh Chodesh Nisan is the beginning of the new count for the years of kings. That's a proof of Rabbi Elazar. The Gemara will now go back and forth slightly. 2 questions before bringing a final definitive proof why Rosh Chodesh Nisan is the new year of the kings. Ravina asked on this statement of Rabbi Elazar, maybe If you look at the words of the pasuk of the verse, it says, if you read just the Hebrew, it says, "B'chodesh hasheni b'sheni," on the second month of the year, which is Iyar, on the second. Perhaps it means on Beis Iyar, which is a very special day, the birthday of the Rebbe Marash, Tiferes Rebbe Tiferes, Rebbe. But maybe it means, says Ravina, that Shlomo HaMelech began to build the Beis HaMikdash on the second day of Iyar. Gemara says no. Im kein sheni b'chodesh hadeya b'ksiv bei. Usually in the Torah, when you want to say a certain day of a month, you say b'sheni b'chodesh, b'revi b'chodesh, b'shishi b'chodesh, on a certain day of the month. Here, if it just says b'sheni, on the second, it wouldn't mean the second day of the month. It wouldn't mean Beis Iyar, because we usually would say b'sheni l'chodesh hasheni, in the second day of the second month. And just to bring up one example over here. Let's do there's many examples. It was just one example in Yecheskel. We brought this pasuk several times before. It says, Yecheskel says, I had the word of Hashem appeared to me in the 9th year from when he was in Galus, in the 10th month, that'll be in the month of Shvat, Asr l'chodesh, on the 10th day. So on Yud Shvat, he had this vision, the word of Hashem came to him saying. So when we want to reference a day of the month, you say Be'esr l'chodesh, the 10th day of the month. And therefore, when Shlomo HaMelech it states that he began to build the Beis HaMikdash on the second, in the second, it cannot mean Beis Iyar. Mar'as v'ema b'sheni b'Shabbos just says that on the second of the second, he began to build the Beis HaMikdash. Maybe it means he began to build the Beis HaMikdash on a Monday. Monday is a great day to build the Beis HaMikdash. I guess it's after a long weekend, or it's after Sunday. Maybe it means he began to build on a Monday. Why do you think that Shlomo HaMelech says he began to build the Beis HaMikdash on the second of the second? It's the second month of the 4th year of his reign, which will be Iyar. The Gemara answers, first of all, Chada, I have two answers to your question. When it says the second of the second, it cannot mean he began to build the Beis HaMikdash on a Monday. We don't see this really anywhere. The Torah tells you days of the week, except, and this is not even days of the week, even by creation, where it says it was the first day of creation, the second day, that Sunday, Monday, Yom Echad, Yom Sheni. That was only the first day since creation, second day since creation. Even by the creation of the world, when it counts days, first day, second day, it doesn't say it's the first day of the week, second day of the week. We only count days of the week. Hayom Yom Sheni b'Shabbos. Every day there was a different song of the Kohanim, of the Levim in the Beis HaMikdash. First from Shabbos, second from Shabbos. In the Torah, we do see counting days of the month. We do see counting months of the year. But we don't see anywhere in the Torah that we say a day of the week. So, D'Liashchan Sheni B'Shabbos, we don't find anywhere that the Torah counts days of the week. We don't find names for the days of the week either in the Torah. And it's important because we count from Shabbos to Shabbos, and our only day of the week that's important for us is Shabbos. Torah has no names for months of the year either. Chodesh Rishon, Chodesh Hasheni, because we're always counting to Yetzias Mitzrayim, leaving Mitzrayim. We do see that the Jews on Friday, it says, Vahi Bayom HaShishi, on the sixth day of the week, they collected a double portion of man. But this, you can answer, is not the sixth day of the week, but rather the sixth day from when the man came down. We do see, for example, when it came to in the Megillah by Purim, it says that Haman wanted to destroy the Jews, and it tells you what day of the month of Adar. But, however, that's a month of Adar, uses the Persian name of the month, Adar, because the Torah does not have any names for the months. Chodesh Rishon, Chodesh Sheni, Chodesh Shlishi, Chodesh Asiri. So Adar would be the Chodesh Shneim Asar, the 12th month of the year. So you'll find in the Megillah, in a certain day of the month of Sivan, in a certain day of the month of Adar. Those are not to the Hebrew names. So you don't find anywhere in the Torah that you find days of the week being counted. So therefore, when by Shlomo HaMelech it says he began to build the Beis HaMikdash on Sheni, the second of the second, cannot mean the second day of the week, Monday, because the Torah does not count days of the week in this context. And second of all, V'oid, Makish Sheni Basra l'Sheni Kama, Ma Sheni Kama Chodesh, A Sheni Basra Chodesh. If you look at the verse, it says that Shlomo HaMelech built the Beis HaMikdash on the second of the second. And one of the ways the Torah is expounded, is understood, is when two things are together, you compare them. So, B'chodesh HaSheni, B'Sheni, two words, Sheni, are together. Sheni, two, it's going to tell you that both of them are talking about the same second. Not second day of the week, not second day of the month, but rather second month of the year. And as it's known by Chassidim, we have three Shenis, 3 seconds. We have Pesach Sheni, second Pesach. We have Cheder Sheni. In every shul, Chassidish shul, there's a second room, and the people who davened at length after davening, they would go to daven in the second room. And Nefesh HaSheni is a second neshama. This has a very practical halachic ramification, which people should never experience this. But if someone is divorced, and on the get, on the divorce document, you write what day of the month it is. So you say month, whatever day of the month of Tammuz, of. But it doesn't make a difference. It's not necessary to write what day of the week it is. And if it doesn't say what day of the week, if it's a Monday or Tuesday, it doesn't invalidate, and you don't have to really, we do it for clarity generally, but you don't have to write what day of the week it is in a get, in a divorce document, being as we see that in general we don't pay so much attention to the days of the week, if it's a Monday or a Tuesday, whichever day it was. We will continue now, in 10 minutes left, we will continue with the Maimer. And if my camera doesn't work, I hope this works at least. Let's make this full screen.
By a ketubah, we do put a date on, correct?
You put again?
The ketubah, we do put the day of the week, don't we?
Right, so we generally, with ksuba, we do it, and even on divorce documents, you do it.
No.
For extra clarity, an extra sign. But if it was missing, it doesn't invalidate it. If it's missing a day of the month, then it does invalidate it. It's liikuva. It's like even with the ever, you can't be missing a day of the month. Okay, let's try the audio. Sure. Let's see if everyone can hear this. Let's make this full screen. This is a story I mentioned yesterday. Let's see if everyone can hear it.
Rhoda Friedland lives in Monsey, New York. She was married in 1947.
We had the last Yechidus with the previous Rebbe. It was on a Thursday night and he died on a Shabbos. Rabbi Heck was the one who took us into him. I was having problems. I couldn't have a child and I was not feeling so well. And Rabbi Heck said we should go in and ask for a bracha. Veyadaata Rebbe had a radiance that as soon as you went into the room, you felt it. And Rabbi, he was also paralyzed. He had suffered terribly in Russia. And it was hard for him to talk. And Rabbi Heck bent down and spoke into his ear. I remember the Rebbe saying to Rabbi Heck, did they go to doctors? And Rabbi Heck said, yes, they went to doctors, but the doctors say she won't have children. And the Rebbe laughed. His head went like this. He was paralyzed, but he moved his head and he laughed. And he said, they'll have children and they'll have healthy children. And that was it. So we went out from the Rebbe. It was in 770 upstairs, you know. And Rabbi Hecht slapped my husband on the back and he said, I'm going to be the sandik. After I got the bracha from the Veyadaata Rebbe, it didn't happen that I had children. And I used to get sick. So this continued with going to doctors and them telling me I should have an operation. If I had the operation, I wouldn't have children. And every time I got an answer from a doctor, I would tell the Rebbe. And the Rebbe kept saying, if my shver said you'll have children, you'll have children. No operation. At one point, I went into the Rebbe, you know, and he said, go see my wife's doctor. And I went to his wife's doctor. Now, this doctor was very, very ardent about my having an operation. She said, you can get very sick. This can be very bad for you. You must have the operation. So I went right from her office to 770. We knocked on the Rebbe's door, and he you know, at that time it was possible to do that. He let us in, and I said to the Rebbe, I went to your wife's doctor. She said I should have the operation. In the meantime, when I was there, the phone rang, and it was this doctor calling the Rebbe. And this doctor said to the Rebbe, if you don't let this woman be operated, you're going to kill her. And the Rebbe said, okay. He hung up the phone. He looked at me. He said, see another doctor. And I saw another doctor. It went on like this for a while until finally, I was young. I didn't understand what a Rebbe was. That if he said something, that was it. You know, I thought I could, he gave suggestions. So at one point, after I had been sick, I went to another doctor, very big doctor in Park Avenue. The Rebbe said, only seek big professors, don't go to little doctors. And I went to this doctor, and after the examination, he without asking me, he went to the telephone, called Mount Sinai Hospital, and booked me in for 2 weeks to have an operation. And he said, I'm not listening to your stories about rabbis or anything else. You're going to be operated. You need it, and that's it. And he convinced me. So I went to the Rebbe, and I said to the Rebbe, very foolishly, thank you so much for all the help you've given me. Thank you for caring about me. But I decided to have the operation, and I'm booked for 2 weeks. And the Rebbe said to me, would you do me a favor? I said, of course I'll do you a favor. He said, do me one favor. Go to one more doctor. Not a regular doctor, a big professor. Anyone you want, but a big professor. I said, all right, He said, just one more doctor and that's it. So I had a cousin who had recently given birth and had gone to a big doctor, and I asked her, and she gave me the name of a doctor, and I went to him. And after the examination, he said, I can understand their point of view. There are problems. He said, but also, what I want you to do is go home and get right into bed and not get out of bed for any reason, because you may be pregnant. And I went home, called the Rebbe and told him, and the Rebbe said, good. And I was. And I stayed in bed, and that's how my son Binyamin Mendel was born. I did him a favor. And Rabbi Hecht was Sandik. And then there were 2 more children.
What was the Rebbe trying to tell Mrs. Friedland? The Rebbe wanted to get her past the Elikim. The doctor says this, the nurse, the professionals, the science says that. The doctors were not wrong, the doctors were right. And when you're looking at Elikim, you're looking at nature, that it has a substance to it, then things are very scary, very formidable. However, the Rebbe was elevating and constantly Mrs. Friedland, and to strengthen her emunah, till she herself, having already resigned to have the operation, which would never let her have children, and then finally going beyond that, and then that's what, as soon as she was able to reach past any scientific solution, suddenly they're able to have a miracle, and able to have children, and 1 child and 3 children. And Baruch Hashem, she was alive and well, passed away at the age of 86 a couple of years ago. She lived long years, she had children, Baruch Hashem. To receive the beracha of Hashem, it's dependent on how we observe the world. And scientifically, there's studies about this, that the way you observe certain particles is the fact that you observe them actually makes them react in certain types of ways. The Alter Rebbe, the night that he passed away, in the Motzei Shabbos, the Alter Rebbe made Havdalah, and his grandson Tzemach Tzedek, they're in the village of Piena, where the Alter Rebbe passed away after having escaped from Napoleon for many months. And the Alter Rebbe was listening to his grandson Tzemach Tzedek davening Ma'ariv, and Tzemach Tzedek was raised in extremely close bonds with his grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, and the Tzemach Tzedek was singing a very sad niggin while davening Ma'ariv, because he saw what was happening. The Alter Rebbe passing away, and the Alter Rebbe was quite clear that he's going to pass away that night. And after he finished davening Ma'ariv, just a few minutes before the Alter Rebbe himself was instalik, the Alter Rebbe told the Tzemach Tzedek, the way you act affects reality. Don't sing songs that are atzvos, meridos, depressing, nigunim. The world is like a mirror. When you have an image of sadness, then the world responds in the same way. That's what comes back to you. Because the chayas, the life, the energy that's given to you, mirrors what you do, how you act. It says, and we're in the month of Elul, where It's Rusa de la Eila, Rusa de la Sata. We have upper, higher awakenings, lower awakenings. And what's given to us reflects of what state we're in. And if we're in a simcha-dika state, a bright, happy countenance from below, it's going to shine from above. And if it's sadness from below, it could correspondingly give the same from above. So how we approach and how we look at things changes what will happen on the ground. And so to look as science as the beginning and the end, look at nature as a beginning and the end, that's how one will receive. But to go look past the Elikim, the limitations, and get to the Havaya, in turn Hashem will bring down Havaya as well. Bring down the tremendous brachas. And